Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur, and today we are talking about a few legends hanging it up. We're talking about a new signing for Inter Miami. We're talking about a lot of miscellaneous things that have happened to the Herons in the last week or so as we hit sort of the middle of the international break for October. Before all of that, Saur, my friend, my co-host, how are you feeling today, and how are you feeling to be back on the mic?
Have you missed me?
I
It's
have
been a
missed you.
while.
Yes.
Feels like yesterday, though, that we were doing this and talking about Inter Miami going on and making a run for the Supporters Shield. But, well, the tables have turned. I am back. I am excited to be back. I forget how this was done, but I'm sure you're going to guide me through the waters. I'm doing great. It's been a fantastic week. I apologize for abandoning you at a crucial juncture in the season, but fear not, I'm back, which means Inter Miami is going to start winning again. Let me ask you, you have been absolutely carrying the boat for the last week and a half. How are you feeling? And are you ready to finally give me a little bit of the responsibility?
I am happy you're back. Uh, I wasn't sure if I was going to be really angry at you for abandoning us, especially because, as we established right before you left, if we lost any points, it was going to be your fault. Um, but maybe I'm just like a golden retriever, and every time you come back, no matter what happens, it's just a tail wag. Um, no, I feel good. Happy to have you back. I think nothing has happened that was different than what we all thought was always going to happen. It's just that there were little moments where we peaked of excitement, but the team always ended up coming back to earth. So it's been more of the same, I think, more or less.
Yeah, surprised, probably not. Disappointed, yes. I think there was a glimmer of hope that Inter Miami could actually make something of the last few games. I think the fact that we ended up with a lot of games in hand at the end sort of worked against us. Obviously, the schedule, yes, but also psychologically, you're kind of playing catch up. And I don't think this team was mentally strong enough to put on a 7-game run. We haven't seen that the entire season, so there was no reason to judge them on that. I know after the New York City game, we were very excited. Something could happen, but honestly, you're right. Reality hit. And it's okay, understandable. This team has never truly come into its own. On paper, it looked fantastic at the start of the season, but there's obviously been chinks in the armor and we have struggled. So this is where we are at, and this is our reality. And I guess we just have to deal with it. Now, the only question is there's some, of course, changes happening across the team. Is that going to galvanize the team over the rest of the playoffs? Is that going to bring everyone together? Are we going to make a run at the playoffs just because of a few players leaving? Maybe. We'll see. But I think this Inter Miami team is far from being the clear favorites to win the MLS Cup.
Yeah, and not just did it hold us back, it was really difficult considering we lost a lot of depth over the course of the season. There's a lot of things to talk about, and I want to start with what's got me excited today, which is the fact that I just watched the US U20 team defeat Italy 3-0 in the Under 20 World Cup. Just a quick note, I think Matteo Silvetti played for Argentina and got a goal, so I haven't really been following Argentina, but I have been following the US, and Kramaski, our old friend and still technically a part of the Inter Miami team, he's been having himself a tournament. 2 goals today to help eliminate Italy. 5 goals on the tournament. He leads the U.S. in goal contributions. He's captaining that team, and they're off to the quarterfinals with a chance to go even farther. So shout out to Inter Miami's very own Benjamin Kramaski for a great tournament. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of the U.S. national team and youth national team, so rooting for them all the way.
Yeah, 5 goals. And this is, I believe, the group stage still, right? So,
No. This
or are they
was
in the
the
knockouts?
round of 16 today. Yeah, first round.
Five goals is no joke. I'm pretty sure he might be gunning at the Golden Boot. Regardless, that's our golden boy. He has been a divisive figure across the Inter Miami fan base, especially this season. Of course, had struggles breaking into the Javi Mascherano team, but the talent is unquestionable. Across his own age group, he's definitely far head and shoulders above. And I'll be interested to see once the season ends, does he come back to Inter Miami? How Inter Miami is going to deal with his loan situation? Does he go on to a better loan? Regardless, the fact that he's actually shining on the world stage among his peers is very heartening to see, and I'm glad. I haven't been able to see the games, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch the highlights. I'm sure there's going to be some really good goals from him.
Yeah, and I just looked it up. He is leading the Golden Boot race for that tournament right now. As far as Argentina, they play Mexico in their next game. They did win yesterday against Nigeria in the round of 16. They play Mexico in the quarterfinals. Now, that Mexican midfield is no joke. This is by no means a shoo-in for Argentina. If they lose that game, Silvetti will come back for Inter Miami's, not this weekend's game against Atlanta, but the following game for Nashville. If they win that game, which is on Saturday, if they win that game, he will stay with the Argentine national team or the youth national team through the rest of the semifinals and then either the championship or the third place game. So we won't have him back until the playoffs. Just programming note. As far as Kramaski, it's my understanding that he was never going to get game time with Parma until after this tournament, and that going to this tournament was a big part of being able to make that loan, and they had agreed with that with the club and stuff. So not only is he going to go back to Parma after this, but I think he's going to get his Serie A debut as soon as this tournament ends. So big things for our old golden boy.
Yeah, and he's demanding the minutes now. The fact that he's shown that he can actually contribute to the national team, well, under 22s, but that's under 20s, but that's still no joke. I think Parma is going to have to at least bring him off the bench, give him some minutes, and I'm excited to see what he can do in Syria.
Okay. That was the happy news. There's a lot of sad news that has also happened since you left. And that starts with originally Sergio Busquets announcing that he was retiring at the end of this season. We have not gotten any contract news on him for much of the season, not even we're renegotiating. This always felt like a possibility, especially once Rodrigo de Paul came in. There was conversations about, is Busquets going to retire right away? Like, I think Busquets retiring had always been something that we thought was a possibility at the end of this season, even though many games we would come out and say, and he's still great, he's still got it, including over the last couple weeks. He's retiring. Sergio Busquets is going to retire. Inter Miami will be his last team. We are watching and are going to watch the last games of his career. I will tell everyone, and I've said this many times, I'm not a Barcelona fan, I'm not a Spanish national team fan. I don't really watch a ton of La Liga. Like, I had only seen a few games over the course of the last 15 years from Sergio Busquets because I'd watch him occasionally in the Champions League or whatever. But to be able to see him in person and to watch what he truly is as a footballer has been an absolute immense joy. We see a lot of players play in the Premier League, and we see a lot of great players have come to the MLS, and few have sort of these not just elite talents and abilities, but beyond elite, like something that no one else on earth can really do. And we got to watch that for our team on a weekly basis. It's been fantastic. It's been phenomenal. What a pleasure. What a joy. And so for Sergio Busquets, like, thank you for the privilege of letting us be a part of that. And congratulations on a phenomenal career.
Yeah, just to zoom out for a second, I think, first of all, as you said, congratulations on a phenomenal career. He is probably one of the best midfielders of our generation. I still remember the midfield of Xavi, Iniesta, and Sergio Busquets. That was unstoppable. The most technical midfield I think I've ever seen in my lifetime. Probably we'll ever see in our lifetime going forward. Him as a player has shown that mind is much more superior to any physical attributes. He's had a brilliant career, won everything that there is to win, and heartiest congratulations to him for achieving everything that there is to achieve as a midfielder in world football. For Inter Miami, I think there were a lot of question marks about his physicality, whether he could actually come on and impact Inter Miami. Is he coming in just to have like a swan song of his career, a couple of seasons with his best friends, play a few games here and there, but not really contribute as such? Hands down, he's been the best midfielder in the MLS. You can talk about him being an anomaly, because I don't think we're going to see a midfielder like him in the MLS ever again, because the MLS is such a physical league, but at the same time in the midfield, the players who have the legs to run usually dominate. The players who are physically athletic usually dominate. But he stood out, and he truly showed that technique and skill is far superior to age and physicality and legs. And I don't think you or I or anybody across the Inter Miami fan base would actually say no to him playing another season. I think some of the games that he's played this season have probably been the best in an Inter Miami shirt that he's played. There's been instances this season where we've just looked at the kind of passes that he's making, the way he's controlling games. And I think the consistency might not be necessarily there, but with the way the season has gone, you could argue that he has been the best, barring Messi, among the Barcelona boys. And for me, he's been phenomenal for Inter Miami. It's been an absolute joy to watch him put on that pink shirt and run the midfield. And I'm going to miss him a lot. But hindsight 2020, I think this was the plan all along. The reason they brought in Rodrigo de Paul was, I think, because they knew Sergio Busquets at the end of the season is going to retire. And the transition plan is already in place. And I kind of like that because, yes, we may end up signing a midfielder, but it's not going to be of the ilk or the kind of Sergio Busquets. And the fact that Rodrigo de Paul has had a season with Sergio Busquets in there, of course, he hasn't been prolific by any means, but he's got that transition. And next season, we're going to have a brand new midfield. So exciting prospects ahead for the Inter Miami midfield. We can talk about that, but Sergio Busquets, congratulations. Great career.
I 100% thought you were talking about Yannick Bright as his replacement.
He is. He is.
Yeah, there have been games where we would not have been competitive without Sergio Busquets. I've mentioned this a number of times with that Palmeiras game earlier in the Club World Cup. They came out with a high press, and Inter Miami was not handling it well. And then Busquets said, "Don't worry, I got this." And they stopped pressing because they realized it was not working anymore because Busquets took control. Many games this year, he's been the best player. Many games over the last 2.5 years. I think maybe the highest moments have obviously been for Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Jordi Alba, but none of them have been as consistent as Sergio Busquets, who I don't think has really had a rough game since he got here. He went into the defense when we needed him to last year. He's done it a couple times this season, especially in the second half when we needed change formation. He's been like a fundamentally team player, has worn the captain's armband, has given the captain's armband to Noah Allen and some of the other guys that are emerging leaders. So I don't think we could say enough great things from the day that he and Jordi Alba and Messi arrived. They brought like a culture of winning. And I don't want to just give credit to Messi for that because I think Jordi Alba and Luis Suarez as well eventually, and Jordi Alba were like huge parts of that. And so congratulations to him. If he wants to come back next season, if he spends 4 months in retirement and is like, you know what, I am kind of itching to get back out there, he's always welcome back. If he wants to be in a coaching role, like I think Inter Miami should absolutely have him be an assistant coach next year if that's something he's interested in. And so I mean, I would just love to have him still be a part of the organization in some way or shape or form. I don't know about the manager next year, but aside from that, like he can have any role he wants here.
Listen, I saw Paul Scholes retire and then come back and nobody even batted an eye because he sit right back into the midfield like it was nothing. And I could fully expect Sergio Busquets doing that. He's just that good. Age is just a number for him. And we'll see where it goes. But for now, he's retiring. And I am glad that at least he's announced it before the season actually ends, because now for the rest of the 2 games and then however long we go into the playoffs, at least we'll really appreciate every single touch that he takes in that midfield. It's going to be a good ride. And I have a feeling it might just galvanize the team into bringing him his last trophy as a footballer and as an Inter Miami player. That would be really special.
Yeah, and same thing goes for Jordi Alba. By the way, last Saturday they had a really special ceremony for him after the game, and it sounds like they're going to do the same thing for Jordi Alba this weekend. We had been hearing, I hadn't heard anything about Jordi Alba aside from a couple people in the chat saying, "What's going on with Jordi Alba?" And then all of a sudden, he announced he's retiring as well. And they're going to do a ceremony for him after this game on Saturday. This is the home finale for Inter Miami in the regular season. And so, I mean, everything is true about Jordi Alba as well. A winner. He has a unique talent. Just a special, special player. And again, it was just a privilege to have him be at our club. So we got to watch him up close every single game.
I'm gutted that last season he didn't get the Defensive Player of the Year because he was phenomenal. And I don't think we're ever going to see a left back in the MLS who has as many goal contributions as Jordi Alba. Absolutely brilliant. He is going to be thoroughly missed. I think his goal contributions are going to be missed even more so because, yes, Sergio Busquets is a unicorn. You can't replace him in the midfield. Jordi Alba technically is a left back. You can replace a left back, but how do you replace the goals and the assists that he brings in? I don't even know what his numbers for this season are, but last season he was truly phenomenal and out of this world. I'm sure this season he's been scoring and assisting just as much, but we haven't paid attention because of the form of the team. But again, we've been spoiled by the quality.
He scored 2 goals on Saturday night, so...
Yeah, there you go. And I won't be surprised if we only realize Jordi Alba's worth when we see a very regular average left back playing for Inter Miami day in, day out, because he has been brilliant and we've been spoiled for quality. And once he's gone, we'll truly realize how much we miss him. Brilliant player. But I think we might need to sit on this one a little bit longer because there's something about this. I don't understand how this has happened.
Let's appreciate Jordi Alba for another minute.
Yeah, fair,
because we're going to get to that. But we talked to Yannick Bright last year on the channel, and he mentioned Jordi Alba as like one of his favorite people at Inter Miami. It is our understanding that Jordi Alba is like one of the most fun personalities in that locker room. Just an incredible person to have around everyone. Brings life and joy and energy to the people that are in there every single day. So not only is he a leader, not only is he a phenomenal talent, but he's also like a guy that just makes everyone more excited and happy to be there. And I think that's also not something we should go without saying. Doesn't get the World Cup with Spain like Busquets did, but aside from that, he did everything in football.
I think he has 2 Euros maybe, right?
Maybe. His last appearance with the national team, he captained them in the Nations League final. So, yeah, I mean, he accomplished a lot with the national team as well. And then the Champions Leagues and all that stuff. So, the last thing to do is, go win an MLS Cup. And then maybe he will be happy when he retires. But again, same thing with Jordi Alba. He is always invited back to Inter Miami to be a part of this, and if he decides 3 months in he wants to come back, he's certainly allowed. I'm certainly open arms to have him back.
Both legends of Inter Miami, hands down, and they've only played 2 seasons.
Okay, let's get to the elephant in the room. Jordi Alba signed a 3-year contract extension, maybe 2-year contract extension, 5 months ago. And now he's announced he's retiring. A lot of people are mentioning it in the chat. He is probably a person we all thought was going to be back. Why is he retiring? Sean says someone in the front office is making people mad and players and staff are fleeing. Jerry says, I mentioned there were rumors about Alba leaving and maybe some players aren't so happy. There were some things going on behind the scenes. I think there's probably something to that.
I think you're not wrong. There has to be. Unless there's something personal going on with Jordi Alba, I think this has something to do with the front office or the dynamics behind the scenes. Because why would you sign a contract extension for 2 years And let's be honest, I think Jordi Alba, among the five superstars that we have, or four superstars that we have, Rodrigo de Poster has a long way to go. I thought Jordi Alba could play the longest. He has not looked to step off it at any point. You can't even question that he's incapable of dealing with the physicality of the MLS. He's just been brilliant. Even in terms of his injury record, he's been fine. He looks comfortable, healthy, ready to play for another 2 years. Absolutely. And then to suddenly just come out and retire, it's either that there's some family issues or he's just tired of playing football. But I think it's more than that. I think the locker room dynamics are absolutely at play here. And it's a worrying sign because I do think it's a sign of things crumbling behind the scenes. This season has been, we can talk about it postseason once everything's done, depending on how the MLS Cup goes. But I think you and I can both agree the season has been far from it, far from what our expectations were. And also, not just the football on the pitch, but there's just a lot of off the pitch chatter and uncertainty and chaos that has been unleashed this season. And I think that's now seeping into the decisions that some of these players are making. Sergio Busquets, probably influenced by his health, probably does not want to play any longer. But Jordi Alba definitely makes me question what's going on, because I won't be surprised if Suarez is next. I think Messi is still going to sign the contract, but there's something going on behind the scenes that hasn't rubbed these players the right way. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing now.
I will say, I think we're both implying that people aren't happy at the club.
Yes.
And I don't think it's just Jordi Alba or Sergio Busquets. I think it was Benjamin Kremaski. I think it was Federico Redondo. I think it was Robert Taylor and Julian Gressel and Drake Callender. And there's a lot of players that I think are not happy. And I can't imagine Toto Aviles is thrilled with his situation right now. I can't imagine Fafa Picault is thrilled with his situation right now. So I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to say that, maybe some of the things that have affected some of those players are also playing a factor in this decision. I also want to say, specifically for Javier Mascherano, not necessarily Javier Mascherano, but just he's a part of this in what I'm about to say. Sergio Busquets has played 4,123 minutes this year, over 4,000 minutes, and he still has probably 5, 6, 7 games left. He's going to play 4,600 minutes this year. Last year, he finished with 3,200. So you are talking about a significant increase in the number of minutes played. Jordi Alba, he's already played 600 more minutes than he did last year. And again, 6, 7 games to play. And the same is true about Messi and Suarez. And just for sort of a reference, Busquets has played 4,100 minutes this year. Velasco Segovia has played 2,800. So we are talking about a huge difference between the young players that should be playing a lot. Yannick Bright, 1,900. Noah Allen, 2,900. The young players that should have more energy in their legs versus the older players that have been forced to go out there every single game. And we have talked about this all year. They needed to have been doing rotation from the very beginning, and they never did. And I wonder if the toll that took on their bodies this year to play in the MLS, right? They're not playing for the Champions League for Barcelona, not playing for the Spanish national team trying to win the World Cup. To them, I'm sure this is a little bit less of importance, and the toll that may have taken on their bodies may have been a big factor in why they decided, I don't want to do that again. And if that is the case, that is on Javier Mascherano, because he should have been rotating these guys out long ago. And again, second game of the MLS season against NYCFC, we were talking about, where is the rotation? Where is the rotation? Where is the rotation? And it really never came. And now those guys have played a ton of minutes, way more than they should have. And they're now retiring. And maybe that's connected, maybe it's not, but they have been worn down this year, I think, in a way that probably they didn't expect. I don't think Jordi Alba expected when he signed that contract. So I think that's part of it, and it's something we've been talking about since the beginning of this year, really.
The only pushback I'd have to that theory, and I think there's definitely some credence to it, is that if they were struggling to keep up with the pace of how many minutes they're actually playing, they could just take a reduced role next year. They didn't have to completely retire, right? They could say, okay, listen, coach, we're coming to an end of our career. I don't think we can do this any longer. Maybe become bench pieces, stick around the locker room just to keep that atmosphere going, have that leadership and presence behind the scenes, lift the team up, not on the pitch but off the pitch, and then contribute coming off the bench, playing one game on, one game off. There were a lot of ways this could have gone. So for him to suddenly retire, I know some people in the chat are mentioning he had an offer from Spain to start a different project, co-ownership of another team. Sure, that's probably the reason that he's actually moving on from this project with Inter Miami, but still, it's a little bit out of the blue, and I think a lot of fans will speculate, even though we shouldn't. A lot of fans will speculate what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, I don't know, because if you're Sergio Busquets, I don't think you see yourself as a bench piece. I think you see yourself as the guy that starts every single game if you are ready to do it. And then as the course of the season goes on, you think to yourself, my bones hurt a little bit. My knees aren't recovering quite as fast. Do I really want to do this for another year or two? Do I want to sign a contract that says I'm going to be here for the next 2 years if I maybe think I have doubts that I'm going to be able to do that, right? And then, people are talking about projects on the side, or like those things come because he's already exploring the idea of retiring.
Yeah.
That's not something that he's been waiting for the last 5 years to activate when he retired. And then same thing with Jordi Alba. Obviously, Busquets retiring probably is like a factor in this. I don't know what the money situation was for his new contract. Was he going to be a DP and really highly paid? Was he going to go back to being a max TAM player and decided maybe I don't, is it really worth it? I miss Spain. I don't know, whatever. Like, of course there's other things, but I think with Busquets, you can say maybe he had something else he wanted to do. Maybe he's getting tired. It's time to retire. Then it becomes Jordi Alba. And you're like, well, he did have a contract, but maybe. But then when you pile it on with what with what happened with Kremaski, with what happened with Redondo, with what happened with David Ruiz, with what happened with Fafo Pico, like the pieces are there for a larger story. And maybe this doesn't fit in, but I think it's hard to, without really knowing, to assume that it doesn't fit in. And maybe they just don't have a lot of faith in this project either, because let's be real. They came and they expected to win every single trophy, and they were going to have a lot of fun winning every single game, and it was going to be easy for them. And it hasn't been easy for them. And so maybe that's a factor in it too, at least. Because you remember last year, they won the Supporter Shield. They were the favorites for the MLS Cup. They got upset, but they were still going into the offseason as the favorites and the best team in the MLS. And this year, I think that has certainly come down a couple rungs from an expectation perspective.
And I know some people are pushing back in the chat saying that, maybe they've just decided to retire and we shouldn't be speculating. Yes, absolutely. But I think that's our job. If we just congratulate Jordi Alba and allow him to move on, then this conversation is only going to be about 5 minutes. I think it's important to put things in certain context. We might be absolutely wrong. There might be nothing to it, but there are some feelings that are in and around this Inter Miami team that are worth exploring. And you might agree with us or you might completely disagree with us. That's absolutely fine. And you're entitled to your own opinion. But I think it's worth a conversation regardless.
Yeah, this is a podcast in the international break. Of course, It's worth speculating on.
We have nothing else to talk about in the international break. So this is what you're going to get.
Okay. I do feel bad because Suarez and Busquets are like huge pieces of this the Inter Miami story. And I don't know if they're bigger pieces than a Drake Callender or a Robert Taylor, but they are as big as anyone other than maybe Messi. So I don't want our last thing that we say about their retirement to be it's a conspiracy theory about everyone hating each other. But I do think we're going to have plenty to say as the season comes to an end. We'll probably give them a better send-off as the games go on and when it becomes their last game.
And I think we can end on this. Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets retiring is massive for what this project was, because when we brought them in, Inter Miami expected to win a lot of things. And right now, we don't have a lot to show for it. If we win the MLS Cup, I think that's going to be massive. But it's going to be sad that we only end up winning the Supporter Shield one season, and that's about it since they've come on board, because we expected more. So I hope, for the sake of those two, to finish their careers off on a high and to call this project a true success, Inter Miami ends up winning the MLS Cup. And we can have a conversation after that about what actually went on. But I still think there's time to rectify this project and make sure we get the most out of it. Win the MLS Cup.
Yeah. And I think if that happens, everyone feels good and everyone feels like, everyone is champions and everyone feels great about the situation. But that's still in front of them. So, well said. Okay. Speaking about the larger project, it does sound like Inter Miami has already made the next step and the next move in that project. Last Friday night, Fabrizio Romano shocked everyone by announcing that Inter Miami had sort of come to terms is the wrong word, was in advanced negotiations, was looking to sign former Tottenham, former Real Madrid, former Manchester United left back, Sergio Reguilon. And as we've heard since then, that feels like a done deal. He wants to come to Miami. They might be working on the details, but Jordi Alba's replacement is going to be Sergio Reguilon. How do you feel about that?
I think definitely not a 1-to-1 replacement. Absolutely. Getting the same quality as Jordi Alba is going to be impossible, but
literally impossible.
Literally impossible.
There's 5 players, left backs on earth that would provide what Jordi
Yeah.
Alba was providing.
But Sergio Reguilon is actually not a bad left back. He's decent on the ball, good crossing ability. I think he's going to fit right in. There could have been I think there may be a universe in which Noah Allen gets promoted as the number 1 left back and Sergio Reguilon is coming as a backup, maybe. But it all depends on what the finances are. This is a good player who can be a good depth piece for Inter Miami, who can obviously, in the MLS, shine. But I don't know whether he's going to translate entirely to this league, because we've seen foreign players come in. We've seen them fail time and time again. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm not fully convinced on this project, on this player. I'm not fully convinced if he's going to actually.
Slip right there.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not fully convinced if he's actually going to make the level of impact that this team may need next year. But it's an interesting choice that they've gone for, and it's going to depend on what kind of contract he comes in. Definitely not DP worthy, so I hope that's not the case. But he could be someone who goes under the radar as an important signing for this Inter Miami team, or could be a complete flop. So I've literally said nothing of worth in the last 5 minutes.
No, he's it's all about the contract to me. And I am nervous about the contract because I don't trust the front office. What they did in the winter and what they did in the summer, like that's what they were in control of. I was not impressed with overall. That said, Sergio Reguilon, I've seen play. He's been at Tottenham. He's played for a couple games at Brentford. He played a couple games for Manchester United. Like I've seen him play. I don't think he's like a Premier League starter level, but I think he can come be an MLS starter level. I'm a little worried. They just went to transfer market and like sorted by free agents and then picked the one with the higher transfer market value. And we're like, come here. But it's all about the contract to me. If he's making $750,000 or he's making like sort of right at the edge of DP money, I'm okay with it. If he's a max TAM player, I'm not as okay with it. And if he's a DP player, it's a terrible signing. So that's sort of my thought process. Fabrizio Romano reported that he had a $4.5 million offer net, so after taxes, offer from a club in Iran. So I don't know if that's something he would really consider, but that is a huge money drop if he goes from $4.5 million to $750,000, which would then be taxed to being $500,000. Like that's a lot of money to leave on the table. So I'm pretty nervous about the salary, and I think that makes all the difference in the world.
I think he might be a max stamp player. I'll be honest. He is going to take a lot of money just because of the CV and the resume that he comes in with.
Well, he doesn't have much of a CV.
Well, he has Premier League experience, and Inter
Yeah, but
Miami is known to overpay for certain players. And I have a feeling that they're going to make him a max stamp player for some reason. And
I think you're
I,
right, by the
I'm
way.
I'm unconvinced. I'm genuinely not convinced whether he's going to be impactful for this Inter Miami team. Listen, he's a good player. He's not a bad player at all. But I don't know if he's. I mean, he's past his prime, um, and I don't know how he fits into this team. There's no Allen as a left back that we could use, and I'd rather actually use him as a left back. Bring in a backup option for Noah Allen, and then invest the money in the centre back positions because that's where the gaping holes are. But obviously, this Inter Miami front office has decided to do something else. Will he be a good addition to the Inter Miami team? I think so. Is he what we need? And is he actually going to uplift this team to win the MLS Cup next year? I'm not sure.
So let's talk about him because he came through at Real Madrid. He made 14 La Liga appearances with Real Madrid. They sent him on loan to Sevilla. He played a lot at Sevilla. Sevilla didn't put up the money to buy him. He ends up going to Tottenham, where he's been since 2020. And he was basically a third string left back for all that time. Had a couple loans, one to Atletico Madrid, one to Manchester United, one to Brentford, but never was like a locked in starter on a Premier League team or a La Liga team, other than, I guess, one season at Sevilla. So you say he's a good player, and Sarakti says he's got, Premier League and La Liga pedigree. We have certainly seen Premier League regulars come to the MLS and not be phenomenal. We've certainly seen La Liga regulars come to the MLS and be fine, but not spectacular. The difference in those two leagues for an average player in the Premier League does not mean you're going to come to the MLS and dominate anymore. And if Inter Miami thinks that, they are so off on what this player and what this league is. And that would be even more scary. And if they do give him max TAM, I think that's what they're expecting from him. And again, he went on 6 loans in his career. None of those teams wanted to buy him permanently. I think that says something. He's been a free agent since July. No team in the Big 5 leagues wanted to give him a real contract or he'd be there. I think that says something. He's only 28 years old, so it's not like he's over the top. So I want to be clear. Just because he has played in the Premier League or La Liga, I don't think makes him an instant success at Inter Miami. He is obviously going to come in and fill a role because Inter Miami has now a gaping hole at left back. But I think my biggest takeaway is he's going to be closer to Cello Weigand than he is to Jordi Alba. And I think he's going to be better than Cello, but he's going to be much closer to Cello than he is to Jordi Alba. And if that's the case, you can't be paying him max TAM.
Let's put it this way. Rodrigo de Paul came in. We were all very excited, and we thought he was going to take this team by storm, take this league by storm. That hasn't happened. So there's no reason to think that Sergio Reguilon is actually going to come in and completely uplift this team.
Rodrigo de Paul is a much better player than Sergio Reguilon.
Yeah, absolutely. World Cup winner. What are you talking about? So there's right questions being asked here. So if someone says this is a great signing, I can find a few reasons to push back on that. If someone's saying this is a good signing, yeah, I would agree with you. Maybe it's a good signing, but it all depends on what the finances are, what Inter Miami is paying for this player, and what levers are we pulling to bring him in? Because there's a universe in which this could be a really poor signing. So we'll see.
It's all about the money. I think if they bring him in for $700,000, it's a really nice signing, and I think he'll fit in. I don't think he's going to provide what Jordi Alba provided from an offensive standpoint. And what I mean by that is just this connection with Messi, always knowing where to find Messi, having that left-footed connection, having the Barcelona left-footed, everything that Jordi Alba and Messi have. He's not going to provide any of that. And so I think he's going to be a good MLS left back, maybe like the 5th best left back in the league type of player. but you can't be spending a DP contract or even a max TAM on a left back in this league because we do have all the salary restrictions and all that other stuff. So
Yeah.
those are my thoughts on Reguilon. I kind of, how do you feel about the timing of this? Because the season's not over. I hope they haven't made up their mind on who the coach is going to be next year, or if they have, they made it in their mind up that it's not Mascherano. But if they've decided to go out and buy new players, you would think the coaching staff would have some involvement in that, which would imply that Mascherano they're expecting him to be back next year. Like, what do you make of the timing of this?
I'm not really sure about why this has come about. Okay, yeah, Jordi Alba is leaving the club. That's fine. You have Noah Allen, who could actually be the successor to Jordi Alba and has been groomed for that role for a while now. He has proved that he's more than capable of making it in this league. So either you're saying to yourself, Noah Allen is now a full centre back, not going to play the left back role at all, which is fine. And then you think to yourself, let's bring in a left back. But you could just wait until the season's over. The season's 1 month away from being over. So there's going to be a decision about the coach. There's going to be a decision about a lot of things. And you want to understand where you want to invest your money, what kind of players you want to bring in. So the front office doing this so quickly, maybe they saw a market opportunity where they were like, we have to do this. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit iffy about the timing of this. Not sure if they needed to pull this right now.
When they went out and signed Rodrigo de Paul, I don't think that had anything to do with Javier Mascherano. Like, that was them seeing a opportunity, as you just mentioned, and them going and attacking it. And that had to do with Messi, and that had to do with the ownership. Had nothing to do with Mascherano. It wasn't like Mascherano was like, I need a star central midfielder, and this is the guy. I found him in the rough, right? That's not what this deal is with Reguilon either, clearly. This is we found an opportunity. Let's go attack it and make it happen. And we just heard that Jordi Alba is planning on not being here next year. So we have to go get a left back. Let's go make it happen. But I guess I don't know if Sergio Reguilon is like the caliber of player to do that for. So I don't know. We'll see. He could be great, but he also could be like just good. And I'm kind of expecting him to be good, but not phenomenal.
I think that's the right way to look at it.
Okay. Let's go to the next topic because we've missed a lot over the last couple of weeks. Tata Martino reportedly, maybe not reportedly, going to LAFC, back in the MLS if we're going back to things not feeling great about the club. Herman Garcia Grova reported a couple days ago. He is very trustworthy. He's one of the best journalists for that part for Argentina. Tom Bogart, who is an MLS journalist, he came out a couple hours later and said LAFC has not finalized their deal. So maybe Tata Martino thinks it's a done deal. LAFC doesn't want that to be public. Like, I can see this being a real thing. Tata Martino back in the MLS at LAFC, which now has two of the most dynamic forwards in the league. Very exciting future. Lots of young players to play around. And, probably the most appeal of any team in the league, in my opinion, to go sign free agents. And Miami maybe being the only club that can compete with them. And I think you even need Messi's appeal to be a part of that. So, I mean, LAFC, I don't know. How do you feel about it?
Where are they currently in the standings in the West? Second?
They've been climbing.
Yeah.
Because Heung-min Son and Denny Boanga have been like the perfect partners for each other.
Honestly, Tata Martino with that team could potentially win them the MLS Cup if that happens. This is a decent team that has played some good football this entire season. So adding a good coach, and listen, we can all argue about whether Tata Martino was good for Miami or not. Him going to LAFC, what that means. He wasn't the best at Inter Miami, but I think he wasn't the kind of coach Inter Miami needed. That does not discount the fact that this is a coach with a lot of MLS pedigree. He knows how to win the MLS Cup. And with a team like LAFC, if they invest, if they go far this season in the playoffs, and then they add Tata Martino to that equation, it could be quite a spicy combination. I like the idea of that. I think that's a good pickup for LAFC if they end up doing it.
Yeah, the thing about Tata Martino, I felt last year was not that he was a bad coach. It was that we needed a guy that was going to win you games in the right moments. And I wasn't sure Tata Martino was that. But in terms of his player development, in terms of his rotation, in terms of his program, in terms of his scouting network and going and finding pieces, like I thought he was like a project builder type coach. And you couldn't really do that at Inter Miami because you had all of these things that were going to be set in stone because of Messi. You have this very brief timeline. You have your DP slots already locked up. You don't have a ton of flexibility in that regard. Like, there was just certain aspects to Inter Miami that I thought required a very specific coach to make happen. And Tata Martino was like slightly off that. But I think as a project builder, he's a really good coach, and he's now going to be at his third MLS team. And if he wins an MLS Cup with them, he'll have won MLS Cup with LAFC and Atlanta and not Inter Miami. And we can always debate what that will have meant. But yeah, back in MLS, whatever was the personal issues have either been solved or they weren't so important that he, couldn't manage in America or whatever it is. So, yeah, Tata Martino back in the MLS. Next,
he's gonna come back to bite us, man. I can feel it next season. If we play LFC next season in the MLS, at least, that's gonna hurt us. So. Trust me.
I think we'll probably go to San Diego. So I don't know if we'll have a road trip to LAFC, but I could definitely see them coming to Miami Freedom Park. Okay, couple other tidbits. And by the way, there've been some amazing questions in the chat, and I want to go back to them. So I've started them, and we'll come back to them at the end. But I want to run through everything. I think it was yesterday, or maybe the day before, MLS released their 22 under 22. And Noah Allen finished 12th, I believe, in the final ratings. So Inter Miami has another player that finishes in that list. Last year, Inter Miami, Diego Gomez won the award. This year was Obed Vargas, who we saw kind of terrorized Messi and our offense in the Leagues Cup final. So any thoughts on the 22 under 22? We're going to have a whole podcast dedicated to this next week and player development and what that all means. But yeah, Noah Allen, 12th. Congratulations to him. He had a great year, blossomed, broke out. Like, I don't think anyone could have called him a legitimate first-team MLS player. Not first-team, but starter MLS player at the beginning of the season, and now there's no doubt. And not just an MLS starter, but an MLS starter for, the fourth, fifth best team in the league.
12th, slightly lower than what I would expect him to be. So not sure what I think about that. I'll have to see the list and who's above him, but he definitely deserves to be on there. Last season, I think Inter Miami had 4 players on the list, if I'm not mistaken. Five. The fact that we have won this season speaks volumes, but congratulations, Noah Allen. He's been the most consistent centre-back this Inter Miami team has had this season. And honestly, the end of last season as well, he's blossomed into a very, very promising talent. And I would say he's playing at a maturity level much higher than the 22 level. So congratulations to him. The only way is upwards. And I hope he continues to develop the same way, and well-deserved to him.
Yeah, and I will say he's the highest rated center back. There's a couple defenders that are all fullbacks higher than him. Alex Freeman for Orlando City, Peyton Miller for New England. But
that
in
makes
terms
sense.
of a center back, he's the highest rated one.
Yeah.
And obviously, these types of awards, if you're scoring goals and stuff, you're going to be
it's easier to
So congratulations to him. I think it's well deserved. I think it would be a shame if he wasn't on this list at somewhere.
Absolutely.
So, congratulations again. 5 last year. We will talk about that moving forward. I will say a couple players that weren't eligible for this list that we consider young players. Ian Frey, too old. Yannick Bright, too old for this list. Talasco Segovia, too old for this list. So, I mean, they're too old. They're not 19, 20, 21.
Yeah.
And that's why they're not available. But some of Inter Miami's breakout young players were not eligible for this list. So, Something to keep in mind. Okay. Speaking of young players, though, Ian Frey is about to make his international debut for the Jamaican national team, hopefully this weekend. Any thoughts on Ian Frey, who I long thought, man, he could have had that USMNT career if he stayed healthy. But it's Jamaica for Ian, and it looks like it's going to happen this weekend.
Yeah, I am very excited for him. A national cap is a moment of pride, and I'm glad that he gets to, well, maybe not play for the US, but at least represent his country at the national level. I still think this is a player who could have easily broken into the US men's national team if he'd stayed healthy. But alas, I hope going forward he can continue to be healthy, and one day we can see him actually represent Jamaica, maybe in the World Cup. I'm not even sure if they qualified
Yeah.
this year, but
Well,
you never know.
they're in World Cup qualifying right now.
Yeah.
They actually play Jamaica in a World Cup qualifier tomorrow at 6 p.m. So if anyone's interested, they're playing Curaçao. So Ian Frey might get his international debut. So congratulations to him on that. And we keep moving on. Probably our last topic, if I can find my notes somewhere in these tabs. Oh yeah, MLS roster announcement. Inter Miami has $2 million in allocation money that they're going to roll over into next season. I always thought 2025 was the year to really go for it. Messi wasn't going to leave for the summer like last year he left for Copa America. Next year he's going to leave for the World Cup. You don't have that. You had a lot of allocation money. You had a lot of pieces. Now we learn that Busquets and Alba this is going to be their last season. It really always felt to me like 2025 was the year, and I think that's been reinforced by what's happened over the last week and a half. And so the fact that they didn't really go all out with their allocation money and to try and add pieces and talent to this roster is a little disappointing. I know they tried to get a center back up until the deadline. I don't know why they thought they were going to make that happen specifically with the Cruz Azul defender, but I think it's a little disappointing that they are leaving this season with allocation money and a pretty healthy amount when this was the year to go for it. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's somewhere during the entire transfer window, whether the first one or the second one, where plans didn't really materialize. I think they wanted to get another center back in, and that's where the GAM money might be used. If I'm thinking about this correctly, you're absolutely spot on that this should have been the season where we go Hail Mary and just try and win everything what we can, but it's definitely not gone that way. So Jorge Mas said at the start of the season that we're going to use every single lever and every single process to make sure that this team is ready to compete for 5 trophies. They didn't do that. And this, I think, is the perfect example of the front office not delivering on some of their promises. Not to be bleak about it, this is more to do with the off the pitch dynamics of how this Inter Miami front office has handled some of the transfer activity rather than the on the pitch. And I think it would be correct to say that we haven't maximized or optimized all the processes that MLS has to offer for this Inter Miami team to be the best version of itself.
Yeah, listen, they were saving money for a center back, clearly, and that never materialized. But and just generally for the summer, but they took that to the deadline. They should have had someone ready when the window opened. And then you think back to the Leo Alfonso situation where they traded away an international roster spot for allocation money. Then they sold it and bought it back and traded Leo Alfonso for that. And they ended up lower in allocation money and down a player just to end up in the same exact spot. Like people were trying to justify that by saying they needed the allocation money for Rodrigo de Paul signing or what. Like none of that was ever true. It was total incompetence from the front office. Leo Alfonso, another player that we could add to the maybe not so happy with what was going on at the front office. I'm sorry, in the locker room. So I think when we go back and look at how they handled the international roster slots and some of the trades they made in the summer, to still have $2 million in allocation money, a lot of that felt really foolish, and there was no explanation at the time. To see all this left over kind of confirms that. Now that said, $2 million in allocation money rolling over. They're going to get another 5 or 6 just through the normal processes of the MLS going into next year. So they have plenty of allocation money next year. And so maybe we should move the topic to what do you want to see from this team, front office or roster wise, with the new spots, because they are going to have Lionel Messi as a DP next year, Rodrigo De Paul as a DP next year, but then some freedom to move on from them after that.
Get me a striker. Get me a centre back. Get me another centre back.
Do you want to use the DP slot on a striker?
I would want to, yes.
Okay. You know what I would rather do?
Yeah.
I'd rather them go the 2 and 4 route and get a U22 striker.
Yeah.
And have 4 U22s next year. And then more.
That actually would be a good shout as well. I would go for 2 centre-back U22s who are absolute talents and a half. Get a striker U22 as well, depending what the future of Suarez is, by the way. And then I think the only other role I think that this team really needs to upgrade is a goalkeeper. Go get a goalkeeper. But doesn't need to be a U22 or well, you could get a U22 goalkeeper actually, but I think that would be a waste of talent. You know what? I think Drake Callender might be a really good one.
Yeah.
Or Chris Kalina. Get Chris Kalina.
Sean says, why get a striker if Suarez resigns? He won't let another striker touch the grass. By the way, Alan Obando was supposed to be the U22 type striker. You think he's happy right now?
Oh, no.
You think they're going to bring him back next year? No, they have a purchase option.
No chance. He's played how many minutes? 1 game?
I think he's played 7 games. Yeah, I'd rather see them get a U22 striker. I think what they're going to do is have their biggest max stand player be Sergio Reguilon and give that DP spot to Luis Suarez. And if that happens, man, we're in for a tough season. I agree with you. I think they need a new goalkeeper. Ustari's under contract. Maybe he'll retire. But I think more than likely they're going to have to get someone to make him the backup. He's on a huge contract for a goalkeeper to be the backup, depending on what, if that changes next year with his new deal. So that's tough. They have a left back, apparently. They have some center backs, but I think they still need a top-level center back. They need another
By the way, Lujan's still going to be here next year.
No, he's not. They're going to loan him out. They're going to loan out Lujan. You guys still have to re-sign Ian Frey, who's out of contract.
Yannick Bright, who's out of contract.
Yannick Bright's not out of contract.
Well, they're going to extend his contract. Yeah. They've got a year option. True.
Yes, they have. Yannick Bright's under contract for the next 2 years on a team option, so don't worry about him, I don't think.
You say that.
And then maybe Silvetti is a star. They have purchase options on Baltasar and Alan Obando. I don't think they should activate either, even though Baltasar has finally started to come good. He's been hurt for so long. I don't think you can lock up a U22 spot on him. So I think you take Silvetti. You might have to sell Talasco Segovia because his stock is there. He's ready to go to Real Betis or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you got, if you go to the 2 and 4 route, I think you have 3 U22 spots available, and you kind of roll with that. So that's what it is, man. That's what it is.
This might be a bigger conversation. I'd like to properly sit down and dissect what's possible, what's not. The art of the possible with this team now is actually immense. And I would love to do a podcast where we just figure out the permutations and combinations, because I think there's some exciting things that can happen. Will they happen? Not too sure. That's a different question. But here we are.
By the way, my Alan Obando Inter Miami kit came in not yesterday, 2 days ago. So that's officially in the rotation.
At least he played 7 games, man.
Yeah, it's a collector's item. And then most importantly, I think they need a new coach. The very first comment, I believe, on this chat or for this video was Ash saying, "Is the project over?"
Yeah.
How are we feeling about the team? Because we haven't gotten your thoughts in a while. How are you feeling about the team as we go into the last couple games this season?
No, not good, because every single trophy that we thought Inter Miami was going to win, we competed for them. We definitely gave a try, but we always fell short. Supporter Shield as well, which I thought it was Inter Miami's to win. Honestly, after that NYCFC game, I thought it was Inter Miami's to win. we did bottle it. We bottled the Leagues Cup. We bottled the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Inter Miami has looked far from their quality that we thought they would bring. And this season has been nothing short of a disappointment. We're not going to win the MLS Cup unless there's a miracle and everyone just plays at a level that's far and above what they've played this entire season. If Allende continues to score 2 goals every game, then maybe that can happen. But that's probably not going to happen. And I think this season's going to end up being an absolute failure. 100%. We're not going to win a single trophy. And that's where I am at with this team. I think it's been nothing short of shambolic. But I think I'm going to go on a tirade and a rant after the season's over.
No, I think that's probably the best for everyone. I think that Inter Miami, you said they competed for all of the trophies. When they actually lost, they didn't compete. 2 games against Vancouver were not competitive. The PSG game, I mean, that one's forgivable, but it wasn't competitive. And then the Seattle final in the Leagues Cup, not competitive. So you're right, they made runs, but by the time they faced competition that was going to beat them, they weren't competitive in those games. So, and that was like the one thing we really wanted to improve on from Tata Martino, was like, can you be decisive and win those big moments? And not only did Javier Mascherano not do that, but then you talk about the rotation and the culture of the locker room, and you talk about the player development, which we'll go into in more depth soon. Tough.
I do want to say one thing. Inter Miami could win the MLS Cup, but I still wouldn't want to do the season over. Like, if you'd asked me to repeat this entire season again, I wouldn't want to do it. We've taken 2 steps back, whereas we wanted to go upwards. So, yes, we could still win the MLS Cup, and that would be great. We'd all be celebrating. I think that would count as a success this season, but I wouldn't want to do it over. It's been a difficult season for us fans, and I think the lack of consistency, the lack of quality has really got us down and out. So we'll see how it ends. It's never about how you start a race. It's always about how you end a race. And Inter Miami could still finish this season as being successful. But it's been a bit of a drag, hasn't it?
Okay, let's end on a positive. Inter Miami's very own Benjamin Kremasky with a brace at the U20 World Cup. The U.S. Youth National Team is going to the quarterfinals. They're going all the way. Benjamin Kremasky, Golden Boot leader. Silvetti gets a goal there. Guys, it's all looking up for the players that have left Inter Miami. With that, we will end it there. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for getting in the chat. We'll be back 1 hour before kickoff for Saturday night's game against Atlanta. Actually, before we do, let's put together a projected 11, because with all the players that are missing, I think it becomes relatively tough because half the team's gone for international duty. You want to give it a crack, and then when you hit someone that's not here, I'll tell you.
Oscar Starry in goal.
Yeah, okay.
That's the easy one. Ian Frey's not there. Cello Wagon at right back. Maxi Falcone and Lujan at centre backs because Noah Allen's not there. Jordi Alba left back. That's almost done, right? Sergio Busquets, Yannick Bright as your central midfield partnership. Tadeo Allende. Ooh. Baltazar Rodriguez. Luis Suarez. And then we need one more, right? Oof. I know. Santi Morales.
I think Fafa Biko did not go to Haiti. I think he did not go to the Haitian national team this window. So I think he'll be available and probably will start. But if he had left, I wouldn't have been able to pick someone.
So then, wait, so we only have 2 midfielders. We don't have a third midfielder?
Busquets and Yannick
Right.
Bright. Toto Aviles is backup midfielder.
Yeah.
Santi Morales.
And then but where would they play? Baltazar maybe as a 10?
I think they're going to go 4-4-2. They're going to go with Ustadi in goal, Cello, Lujan, Falcone, Jordi Alba, midfield pivot of
That makes
Bright
sense.
and Busquets. On the right, Allende or Fafa. On the left, Baltasar. And then up top, it's Allende or Fafa, the other one, and
Yeah,
Suarez.
yeah.
And then our bench option is going to be Santi Morales. So
That's
I do want to address a comment by No Absolutes. And by the way, welcome to the chat. I don't know if I've seen you before, so welcome. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't love this one, but it just says this team didn't even make the playoffs 2 years ago, and now they're finalists for all these trophies. But when they win, you claim the titles. But now that they haven't won, you're going to cry. Here's the thing. We all know that as soon as Messi leaves, it's over. Like, we're going to go back to trying to compete to make the playoffs. We're going to have years where we're absolutely terrible again. We know that once Messi is gone, it's going to go back to what it was. And so our whole thing is, while Messi's here, make the most of it. And everything they do that's not making the most of it is, in our opinion, a terrible thing. Because you only have this short period with Messi. And it's not like Messi's going to be here for 10 years. So the idea that you have Messi here and you're not maximizing it is, I think, terrible. And our expectations and standards are obviously going to change the minute he leaves. By the way, a couple people in the chat are saying Messi is playing. I don't know what's going on with Messi in this game on Saturday. I guess Argentina is playing in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium this weekend. And then their game that was supposed to be in Chicago got moved to Chase Stadium next week. So he's going to be in South Florida the whole time. Maybe he's going to somehow end up in the starting 11 for Inter Miami this weekend. We don't know. But
that'd be helpful.
that would be helpful. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. I thought there were some fun parts to this episode, like Benjamin Kramaski. And we're going to leave it there. Guys, we'll be back 1 hour before kickoff. And we hope you guys join us. See you then. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.